Welcome, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Strategic Command World War I. And we are playing the East Front first. Now we're doing a war of attrition versus the French. I wonder if the French would have violated Belgian neutrality to flank around the Germans. That would be an interesting political question. So, okay. Now, I've been warned to keep these ports occupied down here. Particularly, and so we have, it looks like, all of them currently occupied. So before we unoccupy Haifa, okay, we can come to Beersheba. They're going to come down to here. Now, we're not going to keep a whole corps in Damascus, I don't think. We do have the problems of the British down here, so bring our horses down. Set mode, auto assist. I think this is maybe the mode we want to be in for that. Yeah. I know you're trying to. Can you turn your mic off, Tippett? I know you're trying to listen through Discord, and that's fine, but, yeah. I was getting some feedback there. So we're going to move these guys up here. I did figure out a way to get that. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so we have the Russian front here for the Turks. Reasonably well handled. Just checking for the ability to dig in. No, okay. These guys continue to move east. We need to make sure our major ports are held along there. Now, we need to push in on our friends, the Serbs. Okay, I think we're going to take this turn to fully heal up this one corps. So we're not going to use it in any actions. If we can help it, that is. Okay. No. No. We really need to get, I know I'm not doing great here, really need to get the Serb problem handled. Yeah. Probably going to be useful. Probably should have done it a long time ago. Move them up. I'm going to move up the reserves here as well. Remember, the last person who commits his reserves wins the battle. So I'm committing my reserves, so that's not a good sign. Here, I think we're already dug in, so it would be best to be prepared to defend against the Russians. I keep wanting to call them Soviets. They're not yet Soviets. And we're in the midst of winter. Here it is December 19th. So that is why attacking is atrociously bad in most conditions. Well, bad in just about all conditions down here. And maybe just a bad idea. But I want to look and not presume we shouldn't do any activities aggressively. We've cut off this railway, which is an important supply. so yeah, okay. Good, but we have... This was a big mistake of mine letting this happen. They're in a fort. They're really disrupting our abilities here. Okay, that helped the situation. It's... yeah, just not good. Bring all these over to auto assist. Hey Tippet, good to have you here. Okay, now we want to see about surrounding this guy here. So we're gonna move up. No. Now, yeah, that keeps... Please, you come up to Tilsit to make sure nothing comes dashing down and caps it. Now, here, okay. We've got, I think this is Grodno here? No, this is Grodno. We've got all the way up to there. Okay, we've really pushed out to here. Okay, so our goal is to cut this railway. That is the goal. It will, as we can see here, this is a secondary supply source, and unfortunately this thorn is, which is a thorn in our side, and also down here. That will give them some level of supply into the pocket, but it will radically limit their ability to reinforce units after combat losses and all of that. So, that's all your movement. That should be able to move there and entrench. Okay, I think we want to have that like that. Okay, you can move to this side. I feel less likely to be attacked from, so I'm using the weaker unit here. Wrong way. There we go. I think that's it. Now, I just want to, because it's winter here, I want to get in and entrench and be ready to come on the offensive when it's a good time to do so. North or south of the river? North of the river. There we go. Okay, now down here, oh, what's our entrenchment like? Nothing on this front. Okay. They can come down here and swap out. Okay, with these, and they can still entrench. Very good. Now that will give us the ability to reinforce here. Yeah, we're burning through. Sure. Okay, neither of these are entrenched. Okay. Let's start reducing that down. Ouch. Oh, undo. Yeah. And we saw, yes, that needs entrenchment. There we go. are these guys already entrenched? Not them. I don't think they're entrenched either. Yeah, no. Break in or break out? Let's break in, I guess. Most worried about in this way. Again, I gotta keep checking. Okay, neither of those. Yes, doesn't this feel like World War I? Everybody is entrenching everywhere here. A bit more like that, because we have all that. Okay, that's all entrenched. So our move up to here. Our east front is fairly well entrenched where we can. Okay, these guys can as well. I'm more worried about a break-in to them, and okay, they've already moved what they can. There we go. Looks like there we need to rotate their entrenchment around. Yes, this is Pearl Harbor Day. A bad day for the US, maybe a worse day for Japan, actually, because of what they really stirred up. And they got what they deserved out of that, in my opinion. Okay, now let's look on the east front. Now here, west front here. Okay, those are just going to be combat losses, Okay, that's most likely to be the one that we take down. Ouch, that isn't going so well. Yeah, that isn't going so well, so we shouldn't have done that. Okay, well, we live, we learn. And what? Okay, fortress, not... Oh yeah, no, that is dug in. And unfortunately, this is the two that I stupidly attacked with here that aren't dug in. Okay, well, learn from my mistakes. Oh, we want to send these guys east. Okay, we have all this mess up here. Let's untangle this. We're gonna move you guys back into our little sea. You come up along here. Oh, well. Okay, so we have two minefields out there and they sort of deal with the hex around them to a degree, so something moves in there, it should cause them a mischief. So there we go. down here we need to. I think we're facing a bit of a blockade ourselves down here. So let's come down here. And then let's lay a minefield here. And then retreat back up. Okay, so we have a minefield. It's disrupting. I don't know if it disrupts the convoys. I really don't. But anything coming along here, even next to it, enemy-wise, is going to have a little bit of trouble. Well, I think you're talking about battleships. I actually think battleships are still useful. They just not have been rebuilt, repurposed for the modern world. What they believe, because, okay, battleships were capital expenses. Capital, it can be defined in different ways, and I don't mean capital of your country. I mean capital as in building a factory is a capital. Building a car, even though, or a truck, can be used as capital in production, but it's really a more consumable product, shall we say, an end user product. A truck doesn't build other things. It can be used to build a building, but it doesn't physically build other things. But that's sort of the idea. So it's like the idea of building a huge factory or something. Building a battleship is a capital expense. It's not meant to be consumed in battle. Tanks are really the Germans didn't understand this in World War II, but tanks are meant to be consumed in battle. They're not meant to be preserved. In the modern day, we have things like the B-2 stealth bomber. That's a capital expense because those are hugely expensive, and they're really not. They're either, yeah, for most cases, they're really not meant to be flown over someplace and only half of them return from the mission. They're really meant to be a sort of capital expense that is, yeah, there will be crashes, yeah, there will be losses at some point if they're used heavily in combat, but it's sort of a capital big thing, you know. The idea of the battleship was to go out there and have the big, glorious battle with the other nation, whoever you're at war with, and one side wins that battle, the other side loses the battle. And that, at least for a time being, because it's going to take years to build a new fleet of battleships, you've won the naval war. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, even if you're, say, Germany and you're fighting Britain, you get to then invade Britain because Britain still has or Britain has to lose because Britain still has an army or something, but or Britain defeats Germany capital fleet. It just means Germany can't use the seas anymore. So it was meant to be that sort of way, and battleships were that way. Now, especially in the early nuclear age, I think they really thought nuclear weapons were going to be used more often. So we're talking about battleships, a bit of a distraction from strategic command, but we do deal with battleships here. And so it really wasn't the carrier that that killed the battleship. Everybody looks at that in World War II, and it definitely removes them being from supreme, or supreme, maybe we should say. Supreme on the battlefield. That's a joke if you don't get it. So they are no longer the supreme naval instrument, but it was really the nukes, because, well, we just nuke a fleet. Whether the nukes come from, at least early on, they were bombs, more or less, you know, comes from a carrier launched or a land-based launch, or even they were experimenting still a little bit with big jet seaplanes. So you have the idea of just destroying a fleet with the nukes. That's what like the Bikini Atoll tests, I think, we're doing. We're taking out parks and battleships and things like that, and how would they survive. So that really dissuaded even the US from investing in new battleships. They thought they were over with, and they put ours in mothballs, and then oops, Korea happens and they pull out battleships out of mothballs. Then Korea's over, let's put them back into mothballs. Oops, Vietnam happens, let's pull them out of mothballs and go bombard in Vietnam and then put them back into mothballs, and then Reagan wants his 400 ship navy, so we pull them out and end up bombarding. Before we had a lot of precise munitions that we do today, bombarding places like Lebanon very effectively. And we were using until, what was it, the Wisconsin had that accident. I know some people wanted to go, oh, it was a suicide because of somebody in the turret may have been conflicted about his sexuality or something. I think it was just an accident. Very old ammunition by that point that may have not been stored and handled properly, because they were, again, on that, and I know I'm digressing again, is big bags of powder, and they're done by weight, but the powder is in, no, well, powder, I'm calling it powder, but they were really sort of blocks that you could hold in your hand, I think in sort of hex or something shape, sort of like this map that it would sort of be put together. And so there were some loose pellets maybe in the bag or something, and they did some experiments that may have caused the turret to blow up. And so they put out, finally put the battleships out of commission. And those battleships were still, and I would argue to this day, would still be effective shore bombardments and all of that. Now, and maybe cost-effective shore bombardments. But what the modern-day fleet, and I don't know how, I'm sure there's some thinkers on this, but I haven't seen it. Just doesn't mean that I haven't seen it doesn't mean they don't exist and they're not talking about it. But I really think a battleship should be brought back, because we now have a lot better armors, like we have, the Chobham type armors and other things. And you could build it doesn't necessarily need to be, because there's the Zumwalt and I forget the other sort of stealth destroyer that the US have. Doesn't need to be a stealth destroyer, but angled armor, not a lot of extra, anti-aircraft guns that are manually manned kind of thing all over, like we would see in a World War II battleship. Something of a minimalistic ship, heavily armored, designed to stay afloat, designed to take a lot of damage, and have a lot of modern systems to shoot down particularly incoming missiles. A gun bullet is a missile, but you know what I mean, whether they're guided or ballistic missiles that are relatively slow compared to, and relatively easier to deflect from your path than a large, caliber gun fired from a battleship. And so I would still have turrets on them. I would still have, big guns, because, like I say, those are really hard to intercept. So if you have a modern day anti-missile system, they very well might be able to stop a missile barrage, stop a fleet of fighters, even very stealthy fighters coming in, firing somewhat stealthy missiles at you, that very well may be able to do that. And those stealth missiles and those stealth fighters may be very, very expensive. Again, a capital thing. And so the idea of having all that expense lost, where if you just bring in a ship with big guns on it, again modernized and set up in a modern way, and start bombarding coasts and things like that, that would be good. But then you may go, but that's still a secondary role. Yeah, but that sitting in amongst a bunch of carriers can very much help with the idea of shooting down any incoming weaponry. And if it's armored up, and if the other side also has modern battleships, it can survive hits that others won't survive. If it's designed right, it can, I'm not saying, be at like ground zero of a huge thermonuclear blast, but if nukes get in the area that would at least render non-functional a carrier from doing its job of launching and retrieving aircraft, the battleship very well for a real significant time may be able to continue to function as a weapon system and really move around. And I'm thinking like the Straits of Taiwan, move into there and control those, where a carrier, you don't want to get in there, but that could get in there, absorb the damage, sink the enemy fleets, including carriers, because it can be launching its own missiles at the carriers, long range, as well as having its long range gunnery, and try to be shooting down whatever air launch type attacks against it. So I really think the day of the battleship is not over. I am very convinced that it would be a good idea to really start looking at the technologies and figuring out how to design something like that. And your first try is going to fail. You're going to design it, you're going to build it, you're going to think it's perfect, you're going to put, $10 billion or $1 trillion or whatever the hell into this thing, and you're going to find, oops, something fundamental in its plans just makes it wrong. But you need to do that experiment to try to get that going. And once you do that experiment, then you can see about pushing on to some other technologies and improve it. Hello, Ellen Devout. So, yeah, I think battleships still have their role. Okay, here we are. Yeah, let's entrench. Just for the fun of it. Okay. And these others are entrenched as well. Okay, so that's my diatribe on battleships. Okay, now let's turkey. Get myself hungry here if I say that enough. Well, we will be getting some more stuff. Let's pursue one more detachment. And, well, the Ottomans basically, well, we could afford a detachment, but I don't know that that's a good, or not the Ottomans, the Habsburgs, the Austrians. The Germans, on the other hand, what do we have in production? I would love some maritime bombers. Yep, we'll do that. Don't know how effective naval attacks, they seem to be decently effective, so we'll try to disprove what I was saying. Hey, thanks, Arno. Railway gun, yeah, railway gun. I know I've already made the purchase. We can't afford another, but we do have in production one railway gun. It's January 1916, but we do have one coming. So that is partially why, not the only reason, but partially why I didn't do one. Partially also, I'm not very sure how effective railway artillery is going to be, because these currently, now as we improve artillery weapons, this can get improvement, but we're not doing very good for attack values here. So until we can improve and quite honestly, and I may be making a mistake in not investing more into research. We are researching things, but my main primary focus right now is, and I did see somebody else's playthrough, that by this date they were a bit further along and cutting this off. So I don't know whether they just got better die rolls or are better generals than I am. But once I get this pocket dealt with, so that'll free up a lot of these troops from being here to being able to be a bit more offensive, then I'm going to look at investing more into research. So right now we have industrial technology, artillery weapons, which is coming, airship development, which is coming, and those will help that. I also want to do armored warfare, which I think I'm doing in the other series. So, as well as just other research. So we are going to be doing it. I'm figuring this is going to be a multi-year war, and so mobilize, produce weapons, mobilize units, produce weapons, solve this mess in here. Take Brest-Litovsk, take all of this out. Hopefully take Kovel and, you know, get a good front line here. And I don't know how much we can push up to Riga in this time. That doesn't matter, because once we can move 6 corps of whatever we have here, along with eliminating all of this from the Russians, if we can put 6 corps up here pushing toward Riga, and I don't know, 8 or more corps pushing out towards Minsk, Smolensk, to, you know, heading out towards Moscow, and helping the Austrian, you know, giving them some reinforcements coming into the Ukraine, and if need be, you know, pushing into Albania and Greece if it's in the war, as well as fighting the Italians, that will be really, really helpful. So that's what we're looking at with that, and so then we can very much see about. So let's end this turn here. Pursuing more research focus. Okay, loss of cars reduces Russian national morale. Very good. Okay, nationalist figures in Italy are calling for war against us unless we hand over areas in Trento and Trieste in Italy. Okay. I'm not going to read all of this. There is notes here, but I asked the developers, and I could have read it, but I was sort of online, and he was online at the time. He played it once with giving up the territory. This causes lots and lots of problems for the Austrians if you do this. They might be able to survive all those problems. So we're going to go no. Which gives us these units that basically need to sit here at a minimum. Need to sit here. I have not gone to war with Italy. Volunteers from the USA joined the fight for Serbia. Latvian rifle detachment mobilized to defend Riga. I guess it's because we're getting too close to it. Typhus epidemic spreads throughout Serbia. Hopefully it will just affect our enemies and not us. Ottoman suffer, even though we're attempting to deal with that. So hopefully it won't be as bad as it could. Yep, blockading. Okay, fighting on the Western Front ceases on Christmas Day. Okay, so we're doing pretty good here. Now in the other series we are sending MPP to Austria. This series we're not, and Austria is still doing pretty fine. May not be perfect. Yes, the British are moving up in Iraq. We know they were going to be doing that. And as you can see, we have been very much using up the MPP for Germany. They're moving more troops into this pocket when they really should just be abandoning this pocket. I know it may affect their national morale and all, but man, I would be looking at making a Riga, Donetsk, and whatever sort of wall with heavy focus on the railway junctions, but just general naval mines. Oh, I wish they would show us what's going on over there. Something's impacting our mines, I think. Don't know how well they can quote-unquote be cleared without doing damage. And yes, if we're doing well enough, we're going to repair like the destroyer and other vessels as well. Yeah, okay. We actually not terribly upset that they're attacking us in winter when we're entrenched like this, because so long as this ends up surviving, which I'm hoping it will, hopeful, we're not doing too bad with the exchange rate of casualties. I hope those were entrenched. Yeah, so even those detachments are doing relatively well. Good. Yeah, winter offensives aren't maybe the best choice here. And like I said, these I stupidly didn't entrench them when I should have. Now, fortunately, I did entrench these. Okay, you're hitting on the flank, that's fine. Yeah, fortunately we reinforced them. I think we should have maybe moved the German infantry unit up to hold the front line. It would have done better, I think. This really, I know this isn't a lot of exciting deep panzer thrust in the enemy rear, but this really does feel like the First World War in the style of tactics. I actually think it's doing better than World War II. This game is doing World War I better. How much are they leaving open here? They very well have troops back at that city, but diplomatic success. Portugal is moving towards the Entente. Yeah, blockades. All right. Okay. Given the rise of national sentiment in Italy, led by the people, like I don't even want to attempt. If we're it's a warning not to move those 3 units. Okay, the fall of Basra is a painful loss. We should consider taking action. Suleiman Askari Bey, head of our special organization in, I don't want to try to do that, asked permission to form a unit of volunteers in Mesopotamia to strike back at the British. Yeah, 55, yeah, we can do that. That'll get, it's a combination of, it's just a detachment, but it's a detachment plus it's there, you know, in the theater, and I don't have to build it and march it down there. Okay, and well, maybe we should put the subs there. We'll put the subs out here. So they did hit one of our mines there, as we can see. Okay, so we have the Italians. They're coming. We know they're coming. I don't know how well those guys can hold that, but we really sort of need to shut these guys down. So we're going to send a corps to reinforce here. I really want to take back my oil fields and Thermopylae here. Really want to do that. So let's come in here because I think that's affecting national morale. Other things. And yes, we're going to deal with the Italians. And so we have a mountain corps, which we're going to... Don't know how well they can come to there. Yeah, we're going to stick them there. Okay, so let's entrench these guys. Yeah, on 3 sides. Rotate down. Entrench here. Again, 3 sides. And... Oh, cancel. Okay, no, they could come... No, they can't come to the port. I don't think so. We want... Okay, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess that's what we want. And here. And rotate down like that. Okay, so we've got that. They can get to these crossroads, but I don't think they're going to be able to push deep into here. But I do want another corps. I wanted the mountain corps here, so maybe we can get another detachment over here. Maybe I should have used some of these detachments, and I'm moving this way to go that way to hold Bruneck. All right. Okay, well, that's not looking good. Okay. So what we're going to do is these guys are going to come here. These guys, yeah, these guys can entrench, so... that way. Okay, so we're entrenched out of there. We've got whatever there. We'll see about reinforcing. We'll see what our MPP is like towards the end of the turn here. Now, as I mentioned before, I probably should have. Let's do that. Now, I don't think that is overly profitable of an attack, but we do see some useful attacks here, it looks like to me. Oh, that was very successful. Okay, that pushed them back, which means we can't really swap them out to attack, but... Nope, you fall back. Okay. I think they can move to there. So these guys are going to come to here and entrench. Oh, I think we're looking at the most from a break-in, most danger, so we'll do that. Okay, so yeah, these guys can move up to here, keep them from being too surrounded. So now we've cut the railways. We've got my railway cutting objective achieved. Not saying they can't break back out, but okay, these guys have just got to go down this turn. Not even sure I can do that. Okay, there we go. Well, yeah, that's what we'll do there, and these guys will come here. Okay, so we got that problem killed. Swap them, and oh, they've been moving around. Well, that hasn't been taken care of, but is in better shape. Okay, so probably none of these look like good options to attack. We'll just have to wait for the weather to clear up. But we are limiting their... We haven't entirely... Because again, secondary sources of supply, but basically I think means food, bit of ammunition. But I think we're going to really cut off their ability to reinforce. So now we can grind things like we grind here. So it won't be insta back to, you know, strength 10 and things like that. So we'll be able to grind on all of this. Okay, yeah. Which ones are dug in? Yeah, him and him. Not as good as I was hoping. Okay, so yeah, a bit of grinding there. Okay, now down here. Let's entrench these guys. Yeah, I think that's good. And we're gonna swap out these guys so we have a 9th strength unit in, and then we're going to, yeah, I think as well, entrench there. Here we'll just reinforce. Here, if we were to reinforce, would that go up to full? Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so there we are, reinforced. There, let's, some of these really bad units at least. Back up to strength there. That would also, because I'm trying to conserve some of my MPP for other things, like maybe a railway gun, but yeah. Okay, railway gun, railway gun. Okay, tip it. Yeah. I want to go for a joyride and march back, but I guess not. We'll just keep the entrenchment levels. Okay, now purchase Austria-Hungary. I want. Oh, we're all done with the detachments. Well, you know, another mountain corps is not a bad idea. So we will do that. And Germany, Germany. Well, you know, a mountain corps also to maybe go down and help like Rommel did. So our first one was sort of there. That would be useful. Oh yeah, we were thinking railway gun, but we're not unthinking about it. But I'm looking a little more now than. Okay, yeah. Up here, and oh, they can't entrench, but these guys should be able to entrench. We'll have reinforcements coming up here. I don't know if we're going to be able to push into Egypt or not, but at least hopefully we can. Deal with some of that there. Are these guys entrenched? No, they're not. I should have entrenched them before. Okay, yeah, we're going to entrench. That looks good. I don't think they can get to there, so let's look a little bit more like that. We'll reinforce these guys and swap them out next time. Yes, learn the joys of trench warfare. There we go. So we are entrenched along the front line. I think they might be able to dash to someplace like Erzurum, but now it's a primary supply source. That might be a problem getting them dug out of there. But we do have reserves coming up. Okay, this detachment here, okay. I think they will be useful. If nothing else, helping to protect the rail lines and whatnot from Lawrence and his friends. Okay, now what I want to do here is all kinds of naval buildup. No, but a little bit, yes. We're going to bring these guys in, and we're going to see about in future getting them a little bit better to handle attacks. Yeah, what's not to enjoy about trench warfare? Okay, hello. Okay, now this is something we need to learn to do better. Okay. Okay. I know I'm saying okay a lot. You come to here. Don't think there'll be anybody here. I don't know. Let's risk this. Okay. I don't know if putting mines on our route's bad for us. Probably. I don't know. Okay. Looking for a very healthy... Oh, now I have to figure out how to use the... We have this... Okay, it looks like it's going to be like a carrier type situation in the others, and that it has its own air wing. So let's move this way. So we now have a seaplane carrier. We have a battleship dreadnought. Well, I wanted to go in and look up here. Okay, I guess it's sort of in the ice and it's fine, so there's nothing there. That was my main concern. Yeah, I want to do this a little better. I want to be able to dash up there, smash this, and run back to port is my goal with all of this. So let's have a few more ships. I want to get some of these things repaired. Just haven't been doing that. Well, you know, trench warfare, and of course we often, because at least I consume information in English. Oh, we should be moving these guys up and haven't been doing that very well. It seems often from the British perspective, and we see how poorly the British reacted to trench warfare. The ones that seem to, from what I'm only a limited understanding of World War One, is the Canadians seem to really sort of get in there and figure it out. And sort of what I'm talking about is the British. You know, they wanted to do, and I think the French did this also as well, but again, know more about the British, is, you know, mass, you know, okay, how do we get it? We mass a lot of artillery, and then we do days and days and days of mass artillery that's just going to blow up, because, you know, they saw the enemy having, you know, neat trenches with machine gun pillboxes and all this stuff. Well, we're just going to blow all that up and hopefully also kill all those soldiers in their dugouts, you know, their deep underground living barracks to survive it. And then we're just going to mass Russian troops on it. And we see how well that worked out, or as it in the case maybe didn't work out very well. So and they tried it longer than they should have. The Germans, again, this is my perspective, and this again maybe coming from the English perspective is how they perceived the Germans. They sort of got on this, passive aggressive kind of defensive situation in which, like we theoretically could be just sitting here taking attacks, and they attack a core, don't quite kill it, but do 8 points of damage to the core, say, but take 10 or 12 points of damage in doing that 8 points. So on the attrition, how much MPP is being used up, they are using more MPP up than we are. So that is a favorable exchange rate, and so they were doing that. And then later on, they're figuring out the sort of stormtrooper tactics to sort of smartly attack the enemy, and that could really be effective. So we see that if you do trench warfare right, it can actually be also in the Germans, where the Allies, I don't think hardly ever did. The Germans started using concrete in building their bunkers. The Allies didn't, because the Allies wanted to throw the Germans out of the occupied territory. They wanted, they were offensively minded, and so if they started building concrete entrenchments, if you will, because I don't quite want to, obviously they're not castles, and are there fortifications? Yes, but they're more along the lines of just super entrenchments. The Germans were really trying to do it right. You can set up a trench warfare, sort of like the French wanted to do with the Maginot Line, was to sort of like, yeah, we're going to fight the next war smartly. We're going to, have few casualties compared to the enemy, and we're going to hold off by doing this. So you can do trench warfare right. Now, of course, especially getting into low-level territories here, you're digging down below the water level in the trenches in places, and even where you aren't quite below the water table, still filling up fairly damn quickly. So it's just a miserable life, no doubt. I'm not like trying to say it's a picnic or I want to go do it just for a vacation, but trench warfare, but still in that sense, isn't all that bad if you're doing it right and not trying to be the British and being, stubborn about bashing your head into it stupidly. So yeah, we can look at that. Waiting for I think I have some Austrian artillery coming, and then we can use aircraft. Should be used for the attacks, which I've not been using it well. Yeah, but best to use it in support of artillery attacks. So I'm sort of looking at here with this, or here with that. That would be a good move. Yes, that's a very good move. Hey, Van Bishop. Good to have you here. Yeah. Yes, that's a good spot. Okay. Turks. Production. Yeah, well, I sort of kind of think I've got the pocket closed here. I've cut the railways. There's no supplies coming through the Pripyat marshes, so we've cut this here. We've cut the railway, so they can't strategically redeploy troops in and out. We've cut the railway here and here, so they're not coming through here unless they can bash through my lines. And although there's just one corps here, if they really got really determined right now, they might be able to slam down south on this pretty hard, but then we would just roll down behind it. So we have it cut there. So we've got it cut. We've, the first Grodno and the first Northern Railway line. Then we've got here, and so it's cut. In my opinion, we pocketed it. It's not quite, entirely surrounded like this. So we just got to keep it closed. Got to keep hammering on them. Hopefully, again, tactically smart once the weather clears up, because we can, it's covered in snow now. Not actually snowing here like it is over there, but keep pushing there. and kill this. You know, unless there's a big able to rush in more reinforcements, I think we've got it. Yeah, they might be able to reopen it briefly here, but I don't think they're gonna be able to do that. And we're pushing here because if they don't try to contain us here, we can rampage into the Ukraine and all of that. So yeah, I'm actually reasonably pleased, all things considered. Well, on that note, we're going to end this episode. We're going to keep the live streams going, so all of you out there don't go away unless you need to. But for those watching later on YouTube, I want to thank you for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And of course, I love hearing from you, so please post questions, comments, suggestions, tips. See you next time for more Historical Gaming.